Okay, ready? Good evening. I'm hereby calling to order the September 23rd, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balestria.
Present.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Medic.
Here.
Mr. Minor.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Ms. Tobin.
Here.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to review the Marnell Sewer Report and the recommendations from the city engineer. I will now turn the meeting over to Mr. Chuney from the GPD Group. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess we're not going to do anything up on the screen, but everybody has one of these. But they're, this is the PowerPoint. It's the same thing. It's, if you have one of these, you could read it, I guess. Can we project it?
They're going on here.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, we did email it to you, so assume she has it somewhere.
Everybody in the audience can see too, Joe.
Okay. Tell me what I got to do here.
Here we go.
It should just be this one.
Okay. All right, now we got it up there. Very good. Thank you, Dana. So just a little agenda. We're going to go through here, the history of the testing, AECOM dye testing summary report, then the city side, and the resident side. So what I wanted to start with was, this was the summary of the overall findings that we had back in 2023 and 24. We did that presentation. We had that public hearing. This is what we found. This is just a little summary of it, where the green was negative, red was positive. This is dye testing, dye water going from stormwater to sanitary. Blue was inconclusive. The orange color is a mixture of the red and yellow. Yellow means they called the county sanitary engineer. Red means it was, again, a positive test. And so red and yellow make orange. So the orange and the red ones are the ones that tested positive for dye water going from the storm to the sanitary sewer. You also see stripes on the street, the green lines on the street. We were videotaping the street to see if there was any cross connection there. And any of the green ones obviously were negative, and again, red were positive if we had some issues. And blue is it was inconclusive at the time of that report. So we had 168 properties that were tested, and we had 107 that we said we should do a detailed dye testing report on, because we didn't know what was happening, whether it was on the city side or the house, the private side, where the actual problem was. So what I have here is a picture of the camera. So this isn't the actual one we used, but I took this from a cutout or cut sheet. Anyway, the straight pipe on the bottom, we put the camera in there. And the diagonal pipe coming in from above is the lateral from the house. So the camera is in the sanitary sewer there. And when we get to where the house connection comes in, your house connection comes out of your basement like at a 1% grade, then it drops into the sanitary sewer in the street. So that's why it comes in at the top like that. We would stop the camera there and then launch a camera up into the lateral. Now this camera goes from the street, this is like on the center line of the road, heading back toward the house, and it could see where the water was coming in from the storm sewer. There shouldn't be any water coming in because this is a sanitary sewer. And remember, we're putting water down the gutters or a yard drain or something and putting dye in it, green color, and we wanted to see where it was coming out. So the The report we got back from AECom, by the way, is 858 pages, I think it is. So it has a lot of summaries in it, but it also then gives an individual report for every house, and I'll get into that in a minute. So this is the kind of equipment that we have. This is what is more detailed and more accurate and precise to find out where exactly the issues were. So the detailed dye testing report last year, 2024 and 25. We had 107 properties that we were going to go back on. That's what our contract was. Just so everybody recalls, and I think I reported it here, we had 6 houses that refused to let us back on their property. They didn't want us back on there to test anything. Those, and they're listed there, 1 on Hawthorne, 1 on Mallard, and then 4 on Marnell. So we did not go back on any of those houses. They are colored red on this picture here. So you see the 4 that are in a row there on Marnell, 1 on Mallard, and then 1 down here on Hawthorne. They refused to have us come back. So remember, if you remember at that public meeting that we had several people come up after the meeting and ask that their house get dye tested. They were here, they weren't necessarily on Marnell. They wanted to listen to the presentation of where we were. And I think then the Public Works Department, Chuck could tell you better, I think we had like 20 or 25, somewhere in that number, of people that wanted to be dye tested. So we chose 6, since 6 people weren't letting us on, and we had a contract for 107. We chose 6 that were in what I call the same watershed. Marnell is like a connector road, all right, and all these feeder streets. So we chose 6 that were in the area that feed into Marnell. So we know that they're also causing a problem possibly. So we had the same 107. And I have those listed there. 1 on Byron, 1 on Mayberry, Mayfair, Mayflower, and Mayland. 2 were negative, and the rest were positive. And again, up in the screen here, the green ones, 1 on Mayland and 1 on Mayberry, those were negative. The 4 yellow ones were positive then. Those are the extra 6 that we had that are what I call tributaries to Marnell. So of the 107 properties that were tested, 101 properties tested positive. That's a big number. Right? That's a big number. It's 101 out of 107 had some kind of positive flow from the storm into the sanitary. That's one of the main issues of this whole area here and why we're having problems. So you have 101 out of 107. So that leaves you 6 more. 1 we were not able to test, and then there were the 5 negative ones. 2 were the added ones, the green ones that are on here. 2 more were previously shown as positive, but it was not a very detailed test like this one. They came up negative on this test. There were 2 that were inconclusive. They came up negative as well. So those are the 5 that are now negative of the 107. And the one that wasn't tested, again, if you remember that picture of the camera, we send that camera in the pipe and it has to stop where the lateral connection comes in. There was a sag in the line on Marnell, and when you have a sag in the line, water always seeks its own level. The camera goes underwater. We couldn't see it. We didn't know where the lateral was, so it wasn't tested. That particular house happens to be on the corner of Hawthorne and Marnell, and I'm perfectly confident that with our Marnell project, we're going to take care of that house anyway. We may go back later and test on the private side because we never got to it, but it's going to get taken care of anyway, so that one is the one that was not tested. So there were 73 properties that have a level 3 defect or above, and it's a scale of 5, and I'll explain that in a little bit, that were on the city side. So that's between the main and the street and the test tee. And the test tee is located right behind the back of the sidewalk. So the public right-of-way is from back of sidewalk to back of sidewalk. So any defects that were found in the pipe between the middle of the road and the back of the sidewalk is actually on city property. We have to take care of that. So of those 73, 19 are on Marnell or within the Marnell project, and we're going to take care of those with the Marnell project. So that leaves 54 more on the city side that we have some issues with that we're going to recommend that we take care of, whether it be with the Marnell project or with a separate project that we could decide once we get the cost for that. But I would recommend we do it with Marnell. The guy's going to be out there with the same equipment doing the same work. He just won't be on that street, and I'll get to that in a minute. So we have 73 properties that have issues on the city side, and 54 are outside the Marnell project. So here is a snapshot of one of the exhibits that's in the report, the 858 pages, and it's very interesting here. So What we do is we identify 696 either downspouts or other structures being yard drains, backyard drains, or driveway drains. So of the 107 properties, there's 696 possible areas we could have tested. We only tested 585. All right, and the reason for that is there's a lot of houses that have issues with their downspouts, all right, whether they're clogged or they're broken. This wasn't a project to fix that. So if we couldn't get water through, we didn't test it. All right, we got 585. All right, so in some of the downspouts in this area are actually splash block. So it comes down, there's an elbow on it, and it just goes out into the grass. These people might have problems with water in their basement or something, so they've already splashed the water out onto the grass. Again, we didn't test those. So that factors in on that. So of the 585, 311 were our house downspouts. 56 were garage downspouts, 26 were driveway drains, and 7 were yard drains, somewhere in the backyard. Okay, and again, remember, we were testing some apartments as well over there on Hawthorne. We had those a group of apartments, so that's where some of the yard drains were, or most of them were. Again, on this picture here, it's hard to see. The red is positive and the blue is negative. So you could see the little dots around the corners of what it looks like a shape of a building, all right, or a house or a garage in the back, or if you see a dot in the middle of a driveway, it looks like in front of the garage or in the backyard. Those are where we were doing the testing. And we have this for every house, right? All 107 houses, we have the exhibits and the data for it. What's interesting on this slide here is that you see some houses where you have 2 blue dots on one side of the house and 2 red dots on the other side if you're doing the 4 corners of the house. And again, blue, what did I say this one? Blue is negative and red is positive. So what happened? You only have one storm sewer coming to each house, and those storm sewers collect in the front and go out at one time. So why is half the house good and half the house not good? That's for the homeowner to figure out. I can't explain that, but at some point, maybe an addition was added on and it was connected to the wrong pipe, or connected to the correct pipe where the rest of the house is connected to the wrong pipe. I don't know that. This is something that each homeowner will have to figure out, but at least they'll know that half the house is good and the other half is where they'll have to do their investigation if that happens to be the case. So 54% of the properties had a mixture. 54%. So basically half of them had a mixture of half the house was good and half was bad. I can't explain that. That's something that the plumber's going to have to get into when we get to that time. So the summary of findings here for the detailed dye testing, and this is again some of the reports that we have, and they come with photos. So as the camera is going up the lateral, we put dye green water into the gutters, and it's coming down the pipe. We're in the sanitary sewer. They're measuring, and then they stop and take a picture of where the dye is coming in. All right, and all this data can be given to the homeowners. And we have it on the city side too, so we know where, if there's a crack in the pipe and it's coming in there, we have to fix that crack in the pipe, or a broken piece of the pipe. On the middle of this page here, I'm showing that 1 to 5 scale. They call them level. This is a national standard for defects when you're looking at pipe and laterals like this. 5 is the highest, the most significant, probably broken, busted pipe, maybe soil coming in. 4 is significant, maybe not as bad, and then 3 is moderate, 2 and 1 are minor. So anything at 3 or above, we recommend that you should take care of those items. And again, it'll be in a chart over here that's shown on the right-hand side of the page with pictures, and every homeowner will get this for their house. And we can obviously explain it to them because they won't know what they're looking at, but a plumber would know once they have this data and they give it to their plumber or their excavation contractor, and they'll know what to do with it. So recommendations for the city side. System side is the same as city side. So this map here is the blue squares there are everybody that tested has an issue on the city side. That's between the middle of the street and the test tee at the back of the sidewalk. All those homes there, you can see where they're at, mostly on Hawthorne. There's quite a few, all right, and then the Marnell. Again, the red ones are level 4 and 5. Those are the critical ones. Those absolutely have to be taken care of. Broken pipes, soil coming in, cracked, busted. The blue are level 3, and some of the level 3 can be handled with trenchless technology, and we'll have to go through every one of those without digging up the street is what it means. And we put a liner in there or something, and we could probably take care of that. But those are the, all 73 of them, I believe. Yeah, 73, and 54 are outside of the Marnell project, and 19 are in the Marnell project, which we're working on right now. It'll be taken care of. So there's a few outliers here that aren't in the Marnell area. And again, that's something, now that we know about it, I have to recommend that we replace it or we repair it somehow. And whether we do it now with this project or a different project, we could talk about that at a committee meeting or what have you. So again, here's this picture for the private side versus the public side. And again, you got that dotted line of demarcation there. The picture's a little bit off. See where the test tees are there? That's actually right on that dashed line at the back of the sidewalk. But I had to draw a picture so that it's shown off there a little bit. That is a known point, right? You could find your test tees, anybody in your house that you live in, you could find that test tee. It's below the grass, maybe about 4, 5, 6 inches. Public Works Department, Service Department can find it for you. A plumber can find it for you pretty easily. A lot of them are marked. When the camera was going through the line, they were measuring from that test tee 5 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet, whatever it is where they saw water coming in. All that information will be given to the homeowner, and he can give it to their plumber then, and they'll know where to dig and where to correct any of the issues. Okay. Again, we were only though doing the sanitary sewer. Being that they're same age, and you could see the relationship to them, they're usually in the same trench, one a little bit higher than the other one. I would anticipate, we would tell the homeowners, you're going to be replacing both pipes. They're right next to each other anyway. You're digging there. The bucket's going to probably hit it anyway from the excavator, so they may end up replacing both the storm and the sanitary laterals at that time. And it would be a good thing to do anyway. So, and again, if you look out in the street there, the green pipe is a sanitary. You see how the pipe comes in at an angle. That was that first picture I showed you, where the camera is in the pipe and you got the lateral that drops in like at a 45-degree angle. And then we shoot that lateral up that green pipe, the sanitary sewer, and we measure, again, from the test tee where the defects are. They actually had a toner on the surface. They were putting little flags in. I don't know if they took them out or if the homeowners eventually took them out as to where they were finding the problems and then where the picture was that they were taken. So we would recommend we do these improvements in the street first. We talked about this at the committee meeting, that we would get our side taken care of, get the new sewers in on Marnell, get it hooked up to Longwood there where we're going, and then over there in Radnor, and then Temple. And we have one of the pipes going up Hawthorne that is part of the project for Marnell. We would recommend we take care of that first, which is scheduled for this year, and then notify the homeowners. I don't know when you notify the homeowners, but their time to do their work would be after we're done with the city side, which would be 2026 at some point. And that's what we discussed at the committee meeting a little bit. So, and then for the homeowners that did not allow us on their property, whether we ever go back to them, I don't know how we would want to handle that. But at some point, we could actually go back and do those houses after. A lot of them said at the meeting, this public meeting that we had, that they didn't want anybody on their property until we fixed the city side, and maybe after we fix the city side, they would change their mind and let us on the property, whether you want to do that or not, be up to the city. So, and I think that's all I have as far as the presentation goes. So.
Mr. Balestreo.
Joe,
Thank you,
talk
Mr. Chudy.
Joe, you want to talk about the 29 homes that you couldn't test successfully because of the issues that were on the
Forgot about that part. Yes.
the city side?
You know what? I'll go back to where was it? It was these. Okay.
Yeah.
So this are the problems on the city side or system side, they call it here. All the red ones are defects 4 and 5, level 4 and 5. We actually never got the camera past the test tee on those. That's how bad they were. Whether it's a broken pipe or so much offset that you can't, but it's got to have a straight pipe for the camera to run through. We never got on those properties as far as on the private side. So until we do the repair in the street, we don't know what's going on the other side of the test tee. And there were 29 of those. That's correct.
So just so the council knows, because there were issues on the city side, 29 houses were not tested, along with the 6 residents that refused. So our contract called for testing of 107 homes. Well, those homes were still not tested. So the committee recommended back to the city engineer to make sure in our contract, when our side is done, they would still fulfill the part of the contract to go back and test those homes. Because
We should,
there'd be 29 people that weren't tested. So they would need to get tested, get a report, and see if there was a problem on their side. Now, at that time, the recommendation we made also is to allow those 6 homeowners who refused initially to possibly opt back in. And whether that would be an additional cost or not, because we already had a contract. The reason being, once this is all tied in, I'm of the opinion, and I think Joe is too, that they're still going to flood. Because, I mean, there's people that opted out, we're giving them a chance for them to know exactly where their problem is on the property. They opted out. So now we got a nice new sanitary sewer in, and the water's coming down their downspouts or whatever, and still going back into their house. It's not making it off their property. And now they're going to have to determine where the problem is on their property to fix it. And we're going to be out, our project's going to be done. So at least I'd like to give those homeowners explain to them, they would have an option to at least show that we're concerned and give them an opportunity to opt back in when they go out and retest those 29 homes. And that's one of the recommendations you see before us from the committee. Just so you have an understanding that there was actually 35 houses that weren't tested, 6 that refused, and 29 that they couldn't test because
Correct.
it was on the city side. And then also, Joe, there's a possibility that there could be a problem on the city side and the homeowner side,
Oh, yeah, sure.
right?
Yeah.
Just so you understand, those people that
And
would.
some of these are like this. Some of these, like the level 3s, we actually got the camera through. There's a problem on our side, and then we know there's a problem on the homeowner side as well.
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Mayor.
Well, I mean, the situation for all the homeowners who have tested positive on their property, I know that work has to be done after our work is done.
I would recommend you do it. that
Yeah.
way, yes.
All the homeowners are going to be in the same situation. If you choose not to repair that, you face the possibility of flooding if you choose not to repair. Again, but we need to discuss what kind of time limit we need, because technically that is against code.
It's a violation of your code.
Right, we did
So-
discuss that.
Yeah,
If-
so,
if
I mean, I think we need to come up with a timeline of, maybe there's a grace period there, because there's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be, for some of the residents, it's not going to be inexpensive. So I think that's an important thing we need to come up with, is a timeline and what kind of grace period we want to give them, and help them in any way we can, if we can find any type of support for the residents to fix those things.
That would be an item for, like, I would think the building commissioner, if it's a citation on the building, or,
It's all on you, Braden.
I don't know, does Public Works cite people? Is it-
Mayor,
Service project
Thomas?
cannot.
Nobody likes the building director anyway, so.
Mr. Thomas, have you thought about anything, about the citation process?
Diane, I did talk to the building director, and he gave me his input that there'd be leeway, and the actual ordinance calls for a fine if not completed. But my understanding is, and maybe Braden, you want to just fill the council in, that we would work with the resident. If it went to court, and they were not complicit, then at that point we would start issuing a fine.
Yeah, so once we get to the portion where we're going to start holding residents responsible for these repairs, the building department needs a list. I assume engineering will provide us with a list. At that point, we'll put what's called a soft letter together, and we'll send it out to all the residents. You know, preferably sooner than later. Weather always kind of has an impact with these things. But our typical time frame for potential expensive repair is 90 days. So they'd get a notice saying they have 90 days to correct the issue, and we would, what's the total for, did I hear 76?
73, I think.
73. So we would send out 73 notices, and then at the end of that 90 days, 30 of them have complied if we're lucky. And then we just kind of make contact with each individual homeowner, try to get an idea what their situation is, see if there's any type of program we can send them to as far as the Heritage Home Program or something like that. As long as they are working with us, the building department is always ready and willing to work with any resident. If it gets to the point where, we're not getting any communication, no response, then we escalate things further, ultimately ending in a ticket to Lyndhurst Court.
Okay, thank you.
Diane, right now,
Master.
right now, we determined from the Public Works Department in conjunction with the city engineer that this project's going to take all of this year to do the project, but probably not button it up until the beginning of '26.
The Marnell project, yeah.
Yeah, the Marnell project. So, we're talking about, letting the homeowners know at that point that they would have, late spring, possibly early summer into the fall to complete the repairs on their homes. So they'll give notice soon. It's going to be determined by this council. We'd like to have a town hall meeting where they would get the report with an explanation so they could start saving or whatever they need to do from now until, the first quarter of 2006 before repairs would even have to be started on their property. And that's the recommendation that Public Works is making to the council.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are there any
I was going to add that, we need to get the information out to them, and I don't know how you want to distribute that or when, but every house will have a detailed, there's probably 3 or 4 pages in this report, with pictures and details, where their issues are that we found. So for them to even estimate it, they're going to have to get contractors to give them a quote
Yeah.
and figure it out, so.
Well, what I felt we didn't want to do is just send a report out
We wanted to have a
from
town
the
hall
engineer
meeting.
with, little to no explanation, but
Right.
have everybody here, have the engineer here, have the building director here, have council here, and explain what these reports are and what work is going to be done on their street, and kind of give them the timeline and what they're going to have to do. And then also, I talked to Tammy Klein. She'd be willing to help us put a packet together with Heritage Home, and then we can get a list of contractors from the building department that are licensed and bonded in the city. Of course, we can't make recommendations as to who they would select, but at least they would know who the city utilizes that can do that particular kind of work. And then it's going to be up to them to maybe form some kind of a block meeting and try to maybe to hire 1 contractor, 2 contractors, and get the best pricing to do their work. But give them as much education and understanding as we can.
Right.
And that's what you see before us with the recommendations from the Public Works meeting and from the city engineer.
Okay. All right, Ms. Talbin?
I've got a few questions.
You could-
So we don't know how many of these houses might qualify to be in the home program, right? We don't know if they're over 50.
Heritage.
The Heritage
Heritage Home.
That's your own personal loan, like,
It'd be a low interest
Pardon me?
loan.
No, I understand. I know what it is. I'm just saying, but
Okay.
we don't know. So when we do the town hall, it would be helpful if we let them know if they can find out, because most people do know what year their house was built, and maybe we could have them sign in that we see how many of them actually do qualify for that program, because I think it could be another step to coordinate with the folks from that program to actually come and also do a presentation. Because one of the things that they do is they have a list of contractors also, and they will review bids to know whether those are appropriate. So I think if we have a number of them, we can leverage their knowledge on that, and also provide that maybe as a follow-up meeting, because people have to prepare. The question I have is, if we're going to spend next year doing the work, and the resident already has the report on where the issues are, can they then go and start shopping yet to find out what that might cost to do that work? So that work is done before they have to pick the right contractor and start their work by the time, because that shortens their time. Because
They can
They're
shop.
going to have their reports already.
That they
Their
could take.
package will already be in their hands, so they
But
can
I'm
do
saying,
that.
is that all they need to be able to go shop, a contractor,
Yeah.
to start to get an
That's all.
estimate?
Yes.
Okay.
But whether the
Also-
contractor is going to hold that price from 25 into 26 is another question too. But
You would hope
part
that
of
they
the,
would.
part of what you said, I'd like to have Heritage Home, if we do schedule a town hall for these folks, is
They would be
to
there.
have them be present as well.
That would be, I
The
think that would be
representative
really.
that came to the council meeting already knows
Right.
about this, so she will be there, or she will send someone from the office.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Madam Chair.
That was based on the city
Recommendation.
engineer's recommendation not to have, work being done on the private side and all their equipment on the public side at the same time.
I actually had asked that meeting at the meeting, I asked that question because I was worried that once the city did their part of the project and then the resident has their project done, that they would possibly ruin some of the concrete or some of the stuff that we did on our side, which was concerning to me after we're putting all that money into the road and the sidewalk and the tree lawn and everything. So, but Mr. Cheney thought that it would be best that they wait.
Yeah, I think definitely on the Marnell area project that we're doing, you can't have all those individual contractors in there. That has to wait.
Right.
The properties that are outside of that, it's still kind of like the construction zone. I don't know, I mean, you could make the decision not to wait on some of those, yeah.
Well,
But
Madam Chair,
I still think we
once
should
the
take care of this.
homeowner gets their report
Yeah.
and they're outside of that zone, they want to jump in, I mean, are we going to restrict them? Are we going
I
to say,
would
no,
say
you
no.
can't do it?
Yeah, I would say no, yeah. Just, as long as they're not in our way, because we're going to have a big, major project going on.
And then also, you're recommending extra work be done that's not in the contract right now.
Yes.
That would be these homes here outside.
Correct.
Outside of the.
And if we
Marnell
want those done at the same time, in the same time period as the Marnell area project, then we need a bid on those like right now and get a change order in, right? Because if we're gonna,
area. Well, we haven't bid the project yet. So
Well, that's what I'm
You need
saying.
an estimate. You need a good estimate.
an
of what that's
estimate,
gonna
and,
be.
and
Yeah.
we're gonna have to change what
Correct.
council approves. So, yes, I think we need to say, yes, we need that, we want that.
And do you want it all at the same time?
I would say yes.
Yes.
Okay, then you would need that. Okay, yeah.
I have another question.
Ms. Talbot, sorry.
The question I have is about the levels. I know you said you're recommending where it's 3 or 5, but things don't get better. So if it's already open, why would we not take care of everything that we know?
Everything on Marnell will be, or anywhere our project is, absolutely. Yeah, the street's already open. But if we're outside the Marnell area on Hawthorne here, over here, and there's some on Ascot, I would think that some of that, we wouldn't have to open trench it. We could maybe do some trenchless technology stuff. The 4s and 5s, the red ones, definitely have to be dug up. There's no question.
But are we going to do everything that even has a 1 and a 2?
Do we have a list of those? No. No, some of those are pretty minor. It's just routine maintenance, a lot of that. We could let the homeowners know about it, for sure. Yeah.
So is that on the homeowners, on the private side then, not the public side?
On the public side, the routine maintenance stuff, we have the county to do that, and we will get that done. with the county sanitary engineer. Yeah. If it's on the private side, we'll let them know. Absolutely, yeah. Right? I think we can do that.
So
It's in the report. Yeah.
I'm getting lost. So when you're looking at, and you've classified the problems from level 1 to 5, is that on the public side? Was that on the public side?
It's on both.
Both.
It's on both.
Yeah, yeah, it's the
So-
whole lateral itself.
Okay,
yeah.
so
it could
we're
be on
taking
either
care of
side.
the public side, so
Right.
I'm just wanting to make sure that if we know that there's some deterioration, or you might say it's maintenance, if it's already open, why would we not take care
We
of that?
we will do that. When it's
Okay.
open, we will, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I thought I heard 3 to 5, so I just wanted to just
Will be.
clarify that.
Mr. Medic?
Yeah, Mr. Cheney, did you find any evidence in all of these homes tested that there was a direct connection from storm to sanitary? Or are you seeing these are all installed separate and we're just getting crack lines overflowing into it? I just didn't,
Nick says there were both.
There were both,
I
okay.
didn't look at all of them. They do give a level of how much water is coming in, and if it's so many gallons per minute, if it's just a trickle, then we know it's just a crack in the pipe or something. But if it's a steady stream, then yeah, we know it's a direct connection.
Then it's a direct connection, okay.
And I think there's both out there.
and I guess my next question, those homes that you couldn't get to the private side because it was either clogged or blocked,
We couldn't get past the test tee or something, right?
right. I don't know if our residents know that our county will know free of charge. I get this every 2 years. I have a tree, it gets roots, my storm and sanitary needs to be snaked to the house. It's just part of what living in that house is about. I don't know if our residents know that.
No.
But that, yes, I think that would be helpful information that, if you have a clog on your side, the county would go from that test tee to your house and do what they can. They're not going to necessarily go right to the house, but I'm getting it done in my house every 2 years because I have a tree that I got roots in these pipes.
I think if the residents call, and Chuck could correct me, but we do tell them. If they have a call to us, that's for our first
Good.
recommendation. Hey, call the
Yeah,
county
good.
out and see
Okay.
what's going on, correct? I mean,
Thank you.
And if you have a clog, you call the city, right? You want to know what's going on, how can I fix it? That is good advice, and anytime I talk to a resident, I come out there and look at their yard, and they got trees in it, I said, every couple of years, you got to snake this. I mean, those roots continue to grow back, they don't go away.
I just don't know if they know that.
I would say your average homeowner does not, yeah.
They've always worked with us, Matt, but they're not required, the county. I mean, they've always worked with the city really well, but they're not required to go all the way back to
the house.
the foundation.
Yeah.
Right.
But they have been doing that for the residents, so just so that understanding is there too.
Good to know.
I haven't heard of anything where they haven't done that, but it's always been, just so you know, it's been a courtesy.
Thank you.
I had a question as well. The houses on Ascot, are those the ones that you're going to bill extra or bid
Yes.
extra on?
Yeah, that's beyond the Marnell project, correct.
Okay.
Because the Marnell project starts at Lander, goes to Longwood. Yeah.
Right.
So that's on the other side of Lander. So yeah, it'll be additional to the Marnell project. Right.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has any questions? Ms. Talbot?
Yeah, I read in the minutes, it said that we are not eligible for the suburban water main renewal program. So I was just curious why.
So we have not, the representative has not met with the mayor yet or Mr. Cheney to go over that program. So that's why.
So you
I
have to
have-
opt into that? Is that?
We're not
You
part
have
of
to
it.
turn over the ownership of your lines.
Oh, that's what that is.
And
Okay.
we discussed this,
Okay.
how many years ago was it,
Many
Don?
years
Maybe-
ago.
It was a
We
while
opted
ago,
out.
and we opted not to do that. So we can have another discussion about it, but that's why we're not in it.
It's a legal agreement. You have to sign with Cleveland Water to do this, and there's certain restrictions on there, or there's certain things that have to be done that we have to agree to, and that would involve the law director, the finance director, fire chief, everybody. So I think I always recommend it. I think we should maybe revisit it and see what the terms are now. And it might still be not for us, and we could say no.
Mr. Mano? Mr. Minor? No? Questions? Ms. Sabetta?
Okay, so I know we have to go out and bid this project, but the upcoming funding, there's so much out there. Are you going to do that at the same time?
The sewer district funding, the MCIP funding, the applications are due in May, but it's money for 2026. We would have had to have applied last May, and we had discussed in committee that we're going to be applying for Washington for the MCIP funding. And I'm not aware of any other funding that we could go for at this time
Okay.
in Marnell. I mean, and if you go for funding this year anyway, it's not for this year. Whatever you put in,
For next
you're at least a year out, sometimes two. So,
We just had the Chagrin River Watershed Partnership, and the first 8 slides was all funding,
yeah, they have their
upcoming funding.
319 grant that's due this Friday for
Yeah,
stream
and
and
the
erosion
matches.
control and wetlands and stuff like
Right.
that.
And there's nothing,
Yeah. Not
We're
that I'm aware,
eligible
this
for?
wouldn't qualify for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Minor.
Oh, I do have one. Same topic, funding. So with the federal government shifting its allocation of funds to a bunch of different grant programs to states and organizations, will that affect any of the funding that we've discussed to help subsidize some of our costs?
That's a good question. It's a loaded question. I don't know. I don't think it affects, well, it won't affect Cleveland Water, it won't affect the sewer district, because that's all based on user fees that we pay in, residents pay in. They don't really rely on federal government for that.
Cost
I
sharing.
don't think so, I think.
Okay.
But the changing federal government and funding, rolling the dice right now, I think.
That it
We have to see
is.
what shakes out. I can't answer that.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything further from council or the mayor? No? Director, anything? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Judy.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Savetta and second by Ms. Telbin. And it is now 6:45, and I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you. Oh, roll call. She's really sweet. Good evening. I would like to welcome everybody to the February 24th council meeting of the City of Mayfield Heights. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balestrea.
Present.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Medic.
Here.
Mr. Minor.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here?
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Ms. Tobin.
Here.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is the approval of the minutes of the February 10th council meeting. I hope everyone's had time to read these minutes over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved?
Moved by Mr. Balestrea and second by Ms. Talbin. Are there any changes, amendments, or deletions to those minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. You are absent, right. And now these minutes have been approved as written. Does any member of council have any correspondence or announcements? No? Okay. We'll move to reports, starting with the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. February 15th, we had the Taste of Italy. I think that was a huge success. I think everybody had a great time. I want to thank Cecilia Papanetti and her dedicated crew for putting on an amazing spread. And also the volunteers and volunteers for the Parks and Rec Department and the hardworking Parks and Rec Department. The whole department showed up, and they did a lot to make sure that that event was a big success. So we hope to see you next year at the event. We do have a pancake breakfast Saturday, March 9th from 8 to 12. If you want to call the Parks and Rec Department for details and tickets, that's 440-442-2627. And look for City Focus Annual State of the City in mailboxes in early March. It's an annual review of our city department. It's filled with a lot of information that I think the residents will find very useful. Community Partnership on Aging and Ohio Arts Council present a 3-part film discussion series with 3 independent filmmakers in honor of Women's History Month. Each film depicts a woman's journey and will be followed by a live discussion with the film directors. Dates are March 6th, March 11th, and March 20th. You could call the CPA to register for that, 442-2628. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the mayor?
You know what? I'm sorry. I do have one more thing. On-site lunches do return to our community center on Wednesdays. So I just wanted to let that's from the CPA also, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving to Director of Law, Mr. Schmidlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just 2 things. Number one, I would again ask your patience with 2025-04 that's on the agenda tonight and ask you to put it on second reading so the legislative committee can look at it tomorrow and hopefully get it redrafted and ready to go the next time. The second thing is I would ask for a brief executive session tonight to discuss imminent litigation.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Any questions for Mr. Schmidlin? Director of Finance, Mrs. Scully.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Scully? We will now move to department heads. Is there any department head this evening that would like to be heard?
Good evening. The 2 resolutions that are before you tonight
are both from the police department, so I thought I'd give you an opportunity to ask any questions now, in case there were any. The first one is the laptop computers that are going to be replaced in our cruisers. These were scheduled to be replaced. They're equipped with outdated software. They've got Windows 7, so they're not going to be able to operate here shortly. And we were planning on replacing them. We tested and evaluated a number of different brands. The ones that our officers liked was the one that our IT manager recommended as well. So that's the one that's put before you. The second item is going to be our upfitting our cruisers. This is something we do every year. The equipment in there is typical equipment that, with the exception of some radar units that we're going to add to have more moving radar units to our cruisers. But outside of that, it's the typical equipment for outfitting 3 cruisers. I don't know if you have any questions, if anyone has
Does
any
any member of
questions.
council have any questions?
I have one question. On the computers, we went with an extended 5-year warranty, and I was curious what the original warranty is. So is it 5 years on top of what you get out the door?
It's actually a good question. I don't know. Typically, you get a 1-year warranty with the equipment. I don't know if that makes it 6. I can find out. But the warranty was also recommended by the IT manager. They gave us a number of different options,
Right.
up to 7 years,
Yeah.
which we thought was probably pushing it a little bit too far.
Right.
We don't know that the computers are going to be, operational for 7 years. These were our computers that we currently have are 7 years old. So I'll find out. I can.
Yeah,
get
I
back to you.
couldn't see. I read through it, and I saw it said 3 years, but then it said tablet, and I thought, oh, well, what if it's not a tablet? So, and then when I did the math, I said, oh, we got 5 years on top. We did the extended warranty. I would think that we'd get that plus whatever the normal is, but I just was curious about that. And the other thing is that the estimates for both of these, do you think they'll hold them because we're past their end date?
Yeah, that's pretty common that we get an estimate that's good for 30 or 90 days.
Right.
And, we have, by the time it's actually presented to council, it's beyond that. Most companies will hold that
Okay.
price, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions for the chief?
No, it's good.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard? Okay. We'll now move to reports of committees, commissions, and boards, beginning with the Building Committee. Mr. Medic.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Building Committee met on Friday, February 21st. We had 4 agenda items that are being summarized, and we'll share those minutes with City Council. The 4 items were buffer walls in U7, U8, short-term rentals, and signage in the U7 district. So if we're looking to add some additional language for U7, U8 buffer walls to include allowing some landscape screening as approved by planning and landscape architect. So we're in the process of putting that language together as part of the minutes for your review. The third item, short-term rentals, is we have language together that we're looking for Mr. Schmidlin to review, prohibiting short-term rentals in U1 district completely. And we have some language that we would like Mr. Schmidlin to review before we present to City Council. And then the last one is signage in the U7 district, which is our in the corporate complex, allowing signage for a major tenant to have signage on the building off the road. Currently, we do not allow signage on a major tenant building in our corporate campus.
Okay.
So those are the 4 items. Mrs. Lloyd is drafting the minutes that we'll share, and we're looking to present that to City Council either in the next meeting, hopefully, or the meeting after.
Perfect.
Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Medic. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you. Moving on to Finance and Audit Committee, Mr. Minor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do not have a report.
Okay, thank you. Legislative Committee, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The Legislative Committee will meet tomorrow here in Council Chambers at 2 p.m. We have a large agenda. Council is aware. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Public Works and Service, Mr. Belstrao.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Public Works and Service met on February the 12th. A great deal of information was discussed relative to the Marnell Sewer Project. Council received the minutes this evening. We did have a committee of the whole meeting previous to this meeting. The council was copied also on the recommendations from the Public Works and Services Committee that was presented this evening. And the next step would be to have a town hall per recommendation to meet with residents that are affected and to distribute reports, information, and helps. And that's my report.
Mr. Belstrao, we'll go ahead and try and, the two of us can come up with a couple dates for the town hall meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to get Ms. Klein involved with putting together information for us. She generously agreed to help in getting to distribute
Right.
information to the residents. So
Okay. All right, thank
we will
you.
do that.
Thank you. Recreation Parks Committee, Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Taste of Italy event on Saturday, February 15th at the ACC was a huge success. Over 200 guests enjoyed a fantastic appetizer spread, delicious meal, and mouth-watering desserts. The wine tasting contest featured 8 entries, with the winning wine crafted by Bruno Valletta. This event wouldn't have been possible without the help of our dedicated volunteers who assisted with food prep, setup, basket sales, bartending, and cleanup. A big thank you to everyone who helped, donated baskets, and attended. We can't wait for next year. Keep an eye out for the Park and Recreation brochure and living guide, which should be arriving at homes this week. The website will also feature an electronic version with updates as new programs are added or changed. Resident registration for day camp, teen camp, pool passes, and lessons will be held on Sunday, March 9th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the ACC. Be sure to visit the website for details on required residency documentation. Join us for a pancake breakfast on Sunday, March 9th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the ACC, hosted by the Parks and Recreation Department Commission and the city. Enjoy all-you-can-eat pancakes, including blueberry and gluten-free options, French toast, sausage, coffee, and water. Tickets can be purchased from a council member or at the ACC. On March 6th, we will be hosting a free presentation at the ACC titled Downsizing and You, a guide for seniors in transition, presented by Marty Kebbel and Marcy Capadonna from Coldwell Banker Schmidt Realty. Learn practical tips and strategies to help you declutter, downsize, and manage your move with ease. The event starts at 11:30 a.m. and is open to all, but registration is required. Call 440-442-2627 to register. Park and Recreation will be holding a meeting tomorrow evening at the ACC. It's open to the public. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Mano? Okay. Safety and Transportation, Ms. Talbin.
Madam Chair, I have no report.
Okay, thank you. Board of Zoning, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The Board of Zoning did not meet due to no applicants, so I have no report.
Okay, great. And Planning Commission, Mr. Belstrao.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no official report, but the Planning Commission does have an agenda for next Monday.
Thank you. We will now proceed to public portion of the meeting. Pursuant to City Code, each person will be allotted 5 minutes to speak, with a maximum of 30 minutes for the entire public portion. If you are here this evening, please fill out a form at the public entrance. During the, we'll call each of you here to speak to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record and speak clearly into the microphone. It is now 7:20, and I will open up the public portion. All right, it is now 7:20, and I'll close the public portion. We'll now move to resolutions, beginning with resolution number 2025-10. Mr. Schmidlin.
2025-10, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Advanced Electronic Design, Inc. for the purpose of 11 mobile data laptop computers and a 5-year warranty and installation by Hall Public Safety Upfitters and 11 police cruisers of the city and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano
Second.
and second by Mr. Medic. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Tolbin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Belstria. And
Second.
second by Mrs. Sabetta. We all heard from the chief this evening. This resolution is for replacement of the in-car computers for our 11 marked police cars and was approved as a capital purchase budget item in 2025. The estimated budget for this purchase is $75,000, and the current computers are approximately 7 years old. They are all running on Windows 7, and which was released in 2009. The current software needs to run on Windows 11, the latest version, to support the future updates. Does any member of council have any questions or concerns? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Ms. Tolbin.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this resolution has been approved. Moving to resolution number 2025-11, Mr. Schmidlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2025-11, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Hall Public Safety Upfitters for the purchase of upfitting equipment and a contract with 07 Design and Print Company for new graphics and 3 police cruisers of the city and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta
Second.
and second by Mr. Medic. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Ms. Tolbin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Mano
Second.
and second by Mr. Minor. The order was placed to purchase 3 new 2025 police cruisers from Montrose Ford, which was approved by council through a resolution 2024-63. The cars would arrive as early as June or as late as November. To ensure that the equipment arrives prior to the vehicles coming in, the police department is requesting the purchase and upfit of the equipment to the new cruisers by Hall Public Safety. The total cost is $71,709. Are there any questions from council? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Tolbin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution 2025-11 has been adopted. We will now move to ordinances, beginning with ordinance 2025-04.
2025-04, an ordinance amending Section 133.04 of the codified ordinances of the city titled Assistant Directors of Law and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
So this ordinance was recommended that we place on second reading. Okay. There are no motions this evening, so is there a motion to enter into executive session?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Savetta,
Second.
second by Mr. Medic. Roll call on the motion to enter into executive session.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Tolbin.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Time is 7:25, and we will now enter executive session. Time is now 7:35, and the regular council meeting is reconvened. Is there any business from council or comments?
Diane?
Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute.
Oh, you have
I just want to
something?
give a compliment to whoever set up the web page where it makes it look like a pamphlet, a book floating through the pages. That was outstanding. I think it was Parks and Recs put their, I mean, I don't know if everybody got a chance to see that. It's like you're flipping through the pages. I was very impressed. I just wanted to say that was really cool.
Okay.
Beyond me.
All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Moved by
Me.
Mr. Minor and second by Mrs. Sabetta. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned.